welcome to Library Connection. I'm Mandy Cantrell from the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Chris and everyone here at TV47 for helping us and allowing us to put on our program to share just fun things with you every week. This week, I'm talking with Pastor Andy Curtis. He is the new pastor at First United Methodist Church here in Sylacauga. You've been here couple of months, a little more than 2 months, I think, right?
Yeah, since July 1st. Thank you so much for having me, Mandy. It's a pleasure to be here on your show today and to be jumping into the homes and lives of everyone here in Sylacauga. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad you're here today. I know we met when you came by. Of course, Ted and Shirley Spears brought you on a tour of the library, and I was glad you got to come in and see all the things we have, and it was very nice to meet you then. But I wanted to have you on just to find out, you're new in our community. Tell us about yourself, a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm going to start by backing up to what you just said about Dr. Ted and Shirley Spears, great church members of ours. But man, what a library you guys have here in Sylacauga. I was so blown away by that. The marble display is fantastic and amazing, and the resources you have. You guys are truly blessed to have that in the community. Thank you for your work and your presence there.
Well, thank you.
And the resources that you're adding up in that top room in the kids area. What was that side room you took me to that had all the computers and stuff in it?
Oh yes, we have new books, games for kids. We have a clear touch screen with games on them. All kinds of fun things going on.
My God, I was blown away, absolutely blown away.
Thank you for saying that.
I wanted to start out with that. So I'm not nearly as exciting as your library.
Oh,
so
no, I'm sure you are.
Well, a little bit about me. I'm married to Melanie. We've been married since 2003. We have 3 daughters, and we are loving it here in Sylacauga. It is a fantastic town.
And there you are.
And there we are. And that's
Already
actually
involved.
us at last Thursday night's football game. That is my youngest daughter, Maddie, right there in the front, and my middle daughter, Casey. The young man behind her is my nephew. My 14-year-old daughter is off doing her own thing, and my wife is the one taking the picture. She likes to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. So that's us. We had a good time at the game. Of course, we got rained on, and it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to score-wise. But, you know, hey, it's all about community and having a good time. So,
well, you have jumped right in with ball games and things like that.
Well, here's the thing. I don't just want to be the pastor at Sylacauga First United Methodist Church. I want to be a pastor to Sylacauga. I want to see what the needs are. I want to see how we can impact the community, how we can effectively reach out into the community and show the love of Christ to those in our community. I want really to get the message to everyone in the community how best we can, that God loves you and so do we. And so that's a pastoral thing. That's not a denominational thing.
Sure.
And so that's kind of our approach. When we were appointed here, by the bishop and cabinet, and if you're familiar with the United Methodist Church and how we do appointments, that makes sense. If not, shoot me an email later and I'll fill you in on that. When we found out we were going to be appointed here, my wife and I made the determination that we were going to try to become good Sylacaugans. Find out what made this community tick, find out how we could plug in, how we could enrich our family, and do our part in trying to make Sylacauga a better place. And so that's kind of what we're in the midst of doing, and we're kind of knee deep into it right now, and more's coming along. So
that's great. Well, this is my hometown. I'm a hometown girl, so thank you so much for pouring into our community. I very much appreciate that.
Oh, it's our privilege. We're so excited to be here.
And with girls in the schools and things, I know you'll be busy and jumping right in and being involved. I know with schools and with all the other things going on.
Our girls keep us busy for sure, as all parents can understand.
Oh, they do. Now, I know this is not your first church. You've been a pastor for a few years. Is that correct?
I have. I started in ministry in 2008, and I was brought on to a church in Fort Payne, Alabama, to serve as their music minister. Okay. So I began my transition into ministry that way, and I love this picture. This was me working with the praise band in the church in Fort Payne. It was Asbury United Methodist Church. And I was leading worship from the piano, and my youngest daughter, Maddie, decided she wanted to help me lead worship. And so she came up and started playing the piano, and that's one of my favorite pictures of us.
That is wonderful.
And oddly enough, she just started taking formal piano lessons like 3 weeks ago from Miss Robin Lewis at the church. So that's really awesome there. But anyway, I started in ministry in 2008. As music minister, I have a music background. I studied music as an undergrad at Jacksonville State University. And went into music ministry, and then in 2009, I was brought on staff full-time as music and youth pastor at this church. And so then I entered seminary in 2011 and was appointed to my first church under the bishop and appointed cabinet, not as a staff member, but as an appointed clergy person in 2015. I started out at, oddly enough, they appointed me back to Jacksonville, where we had moved from. So that's where I started out. So from Jacksonville to Chelsea, from Chelsea to Florence, and from Florence now to Sylacauga, and we're glad to be here.
Well, good. I'm glad you've stayed in our state. That's good.
Yeah. We're part of the North Alabama Conference, so this is the part of the state that we're going to be in from basically from the middle of the state up.
Oh, okay. That's great. I didn't really know how it worked, but that's great. You'll be at in that area. That's wonderful. And I love the one of you and your daughter at the piano. That is so sweet. I know. And she's taking piano now. Do your girls like music or? Yeah,
actually, Maddie and Casey both just started taking formal piano lessons. Earlier, actually at the beginning of the month of September.
Robin is awesome too. She's wonderful.
She is great. Man, and we're so lucky to have her as our accompanist at Sylacauga First. She is great. Lexi has sang in the choir a lot. She likes to sing. She likes to vocalize. I don't know that musical instruments are going to be the way she wants to go because of the discipline that you have to do to put in the initial beginning, but she likes to just sing and sing loudly, so she makes a joyful noise, and we support that.
That is wonderful. Well, I am so glad you are here, and like you said, jumping right into our community and wanting to be a part of it. That's great. We're going to pause for a commercial break, and we'll be right back and talk some more with Pastor Andy Curtis.
Senior Adult Activity Center offers the senior citizens in the Sylacauga and surrounding areas lots of fantastic activities throughout the week. Sewing, ladies bridge, quilting, game-o-rama, ceramic classes, bingo, travel club, and lots more. It's all at the Maxie Veazey Senior Adult Activity Center located next to the J. Craig Smith Community Center in Sylacauga. Don't spend any more time alone. Get out, make new friends, and have fun.
Sylacauga's best kept secret? No more. Harvey's on Noble is the place to go for the area's best food and drinks. Whether you're in the mood for steak, burgers, salad, seafood, or dessert, Harvey's on Noble will not disappoint, and the atmosphere is perfect for catching the big game or just relaxing after work. Harvey's is open for dinner Wednesday through Saturdays, so round up the family and we'll see you at Harvey's on Noble, downtown Sylacauga.
Great. What am I going to do now?
Time to visit Brown's Auto Collision.
No problem at all. We've contacted your insurance company and we can get you back into original condition right away. And I just want to remind you that all of our work is covered by a lifetime warranty. We're done.
Wow, that was easy and looks great.
Brown's Auto Collision,
where quality is no accident.
Hello, welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking today with Pastor Andy Curtis from the First United Methodist Church here in Sylacauga. We talked a little bit about how you got here. Really, that's great. And now let's talk a little bit more about your musical background. So you must play the piano. You've been a music director, music minister at churches, but you also play other things, other instruments. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. Piano is not my primary. That kind of came along later. Saxophone is my primary instrument, and that's actually what I went to college for, was to study music education as a saxophone major at Jacksonville State University, and got involved in playing jazz. And during my time at JSU, I had to pick up a secondary instrument as well as a music major, and that was flute. And so flute is my secondary instrument, but I'm not a I can play enough flute to get by. So I do enjoy playing it though. But while I was at Jacksonville State, I was approached by some other music majors, and we decided we were going to form a band.
Oh, good.
And so actually from 1998 till 2003, I toured with this band as a professional musician.
Oh, wow.
And so that's kind of the background I have in music there. And we made all kinds of memories and discovered that it was an interesting experience in your early 20s, but after that, that's about enough. Because in 2003, when my wife and I got married, in the words of Journey, I discovered a road ain't no place to raise a family or start a family.
I bet.
So,
and there you are playing the sax.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was at the church a couple of weeks ago. I had a great time playing with them. I'm so grateful that David asked me to sit in with the praise band on that day.
I know, he's loving that, though. That's
oh, man,
great.
he's great. Gosh, he is fantastic.
But touring, yes, a fun experience. You can say you did it. Was it a jazz type band? Or just...
No, it was actually a rock band.
Okay.
It was a rock band, and we were fortunate enough to sign a record contract with an independent label. And you know, we played with some pretty big acts. We opened for the Dave Matthews Band, and for those of you that grew up in the 90s, we opened for a band called Creed.
Yes.
Y'all might remember that. You know, so I've got some good stories from the road, but in 2003, decided that was enough. It was time to. Honestly, when I left the music industry, what I said was, I feel God is calling me to something else.
Right.
And I couldn't argue with that. I didn't really know what it was, so I began wrestling. And so then that's how I ended up in music ministry. Actually, after I left that band, I started a Christian band.
Oh, right.
And we started playing, and we made an album, and we started playing around in the area, and I started getting churches having us come in, and this one church kept booking us over and over and over to come play for their youth events and for their church. And the pastor, Jerry Hurston at Asbury Fort Payne, finally just came up to me and said, you know, we're looking for a new music director at the end of the year. I really think you ought to apply for the position. And that's how it started, and that's how music led me ultimately into me answering my call to pastoral ministry.
God works in mysterious ways.
I'm saying it. If God can find you on the road and take you off the road and put you in ministry, God can do all kind of stuff.
He can. That is wonderful. That's a neat story, just a fun story. And I need to come hear you. I won't tell my pastor that, but I need to come hear you play sometime. That would be great. David is great. Y'all have a great church staff, I know, don't you?
We do. I'm a firm believer in having good teams around you and having high trust level. And the staff that we have at the church has knowledge. This is Leslie Lucas. She is our Director of Children's Ministry. And Leslie's been with us in this role for 7 years.
Oh, good.
And she's also on staff at the high school. And so she's plugged into kids. She has children of her own. And she just has a heart for children and for serving God in this way. So she's an excellent staff member of ours as well.
That's such an important time to have activities and share Christ with children.
Oh, absolutely. And if they learn the stories, it's things that they carry with them forever. Absolutely. And it makes an impact. This is Dee Dee Matthews. She is over the Sylacauga First Kindergarten and daycare. A lot of folks in your community are going to be familiar with that. She's been in that position, are you ready for this, for 20 years.
Wow.
That is incredible. 2 decades in leading children up through those developmental stages as they enter into the school system. And I was talking with her about her position there and what she loved about it. And she said, really, I just love the kids and they teach me every day. And I thought that was a great testimony.
She does love it. I worked with her. I worked up at the daycare. I taught K-5 for 2 years, about 20-something years ago too, worked with her. Dee Dee is excellent. And I still go over there and do story times now. So they're a great group, wonderful staff.
And here you have, I think, some of Sylacauga royalty with David Simpkins. The last name Simpkins here in town, he and Buddy are amazing. David has been part of our church staff since the mid-90s.
Wow.
In part-time roles and in different things, directing the chancel choir, the handbells, the praise band. He covers all genres.
Yes.
He is an excellent team player, and he brings that element of artistic worship into play every single week. It touches you on an emotive level, but also on a theological level. Excuse me. I am so grateful to have David as our worship and arts director. He does an amazing job.
He does. He's wonderful.
And finally, popping up here in just a second, you're probably going to have a picture of Crystal Whitehead.
Yes.
And she is our youth director. And Crystal comes with decades of youth ministry experience from all over the state, and then she was on staff at Camp Sylacauga,
Oh, yes. Okay.
which is the United Methodist camp that we have here in North Alabama. So just a wealth of knowledge from individuals that have a heart for their area of ministry and a heart for God. And it just makes for a fantastic, and I'll be honest with you, a fun atmosphere to do ministry in. It's just a whole lot of fun.
It does take a team, doesn't it? And
It
that's
does,
great. You all
absolutely.
work together. That's great. We're going to pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back and talk some more with Brother Andy Curtis.
The Maxie Veazey Senior Adult Activity Center offers the senior citizens in the Sylacauga and surrounding areas lots of fantastic activities throughout the week. Sewing, ladies bridge, quilting, game-orama, ceramic classes, bingo, travel club, and lots more. It's all at the Maxie Veazey Senior Adult Activity Center located next to the J. Craig Smith Community Center in Sylacauga. Don't spend any more time alone. Get out, make new friends, and have fun.
Sylacauga's best kept secret? No more. Harvey's on Noble is the place to go for the area's best food and drinks. Whether you're in the mood for steak, burgers, salad, seafood, or dessert, Harvey's on Noble will not disappoint, and the atmosphere is perfect for catching the big game or just relaxing after work. Harvey's is open for dinner Wednesday through Saturdays, so round up the family and we'll see you at Harvey's on Noble, downtown Sylacauga.
Great. What am I going to do now?
Time to visit Brown's Auto Collision.
No problem at all. We've contacted your insurance company and we can get you back into original condition right away. And I just want to remind you that all of our work is covered by a lifetime warranty. We're done.
Wow, that was easy and looks great.
Brown's Auto Collision.
Where quality is no accident.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Brother Andy Curtis from First United Methodist Church here in Sylacauga. He's been here a little over 2 months and very involved in the community, and a real vision for what you want to do, I think, in the community there. That's great. I did go to your website, which is very nice. I found all kinds of things looking around on there. And I think we were talking about your staff just a minute ago, and there's Crystal Whitehead's picture. We didn't see it before. But that's her. She works with...
She is our youth director and
Right.
does an amazing job with our teenagers and our rising tweens. You have 4th, 5th, and 6th, and right after that you have your junior high, so she gets them right there at junior high and all the way through graduation.
That's great. And anybody that works with youth, my goodness, hats off to them. They're busy, lots of things going on, but it's very important. So thank you, Crystal. I'm glad to be able to show her picture. Now, I think I was saying I went to your church website and saw that you were doing listening sessions. I wondered how does a new pastor get to know everybody? I mean, I've had new pastors at my church, and it's got to be a challenge to learn names and to learn what people want, things like that. And I think you said you were having listening sessions. Kind of explain that.
Sure. Well, it's interesting when you move to a new church because there's one of me and a multitude of everybody else. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, Sylacauga, names and remembering names aren't necessarily my spiritual gift. So I'm going to confess that. But one of the ways that I like to get to know my church members, but also I'm appointed as a United Methodist elder to lead the church in word, which is preaching, sacrament, baptism, and the Lord's Supper in our particular faith tradition. Word, sacrament, order, which is to be a leader, ordering the life of the church, and then service, to model service for our church members. And so in order to kind of figure out how to lead in the realm of order, a pathway forward, I have to figure out where the church is and what they actually want to do and what their gifts are. So if I come in with preconceived notions, Mandy, I'm selling the church short.
Right.
Each church is its own organism, and each organism has its own spiritual gifts. So you want to get to the bottom of that. One of the ways I do that is I have listening sessions. And listening sessions is when you gather small groups. I try to keep it under 12 people because that after that it ceases to be a small group and it becomes something different, right? And I pose a series of open-ended questions, allowing them to everyone in the circle to expound upon it. Everyone gets to answer. The three questions that I asked our folks this time were, what do you love about Sylacauga First United Methodist Church? And in that they could share, I love the music, the fellowship, the friendly people, or they could share their story. I've been here for 36 years and I love, whatever.
Right, yes.
That's up to them. The next question is, what would you like to see changed or developed, if anything, at the church to kind of see where they're at? And the next one is, do you have any questions, joys, or concerns as we move forward? And so as they kind of flesh these things out, you see what's on their mind. It's a non-threatening environment. It's one where they can say, well, I appreciate this, but I don't really appreciate this about the church. How can we? And so that just kind of helps me get to know not only their faces in a small group setting, which is so important. Easier for me to learn who 12 people are than to learn 120 people on Sunday morning.
Sure, yeah.
And it also helps me figure out who's who, where they're at, and how we can chart a path forward. And so that's what listening sessions really are about.
That's wonderful. A wonderful way to let other people have input and get to know you. I know you're getting to know them and they're getting to know you too. That's great. And I saw on there also the vision of your church, and this was probably there before you were, bringing people to Jesus, building up believers, and blessing the world.
Yeah, I think it's a great vision statement and great mission statement. It is their mission. It does predate me by quite a bit. But right now, at some point, we may refresh that just because you do that every so often. A new mission statement kind of injects a little bit of energy into the church. But there's really nothing about that I don't think needs to be changed.
Right.
We do bring people to Jesus. That is, and not only do we bring people to Jesus, we bring Jesus to the people.
Right.
And so that is, that is as biblical as it gets in the Christian faith. Building up believers is what we're commissioned to do, and that's what the church has done ever since its inception, and when the Lord added to their number daily. And then blessing the world, and we do that. We begin doing that by blessing our community, and that's the Acts chapter 2. You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. You start where you are, and if everybody else starts where they are, blessing their communities, ultimately your outreach overlaps.
Yes.
And you've blessed an entire state and ultimately the world. I think it's a great model for ministry, and they're well on their way to doing that.
That's great. That's great. That's wonderful. Yes, if we would all do that, wouldn't it be wonderful? During one of the breaks, we talked a little bit about how COVID changed churches, the way churches do ministry, things like that. COVID did. And then along, I'm older, I've been in church all my life, I'm used to certain things. Not that it has to stay that way, but that's just kind of what we've always done. We had Sunday school at a certain time, we had church at a certain time, things like that. It was great. I'm open to change, but people that are younger, like my children, and people in their 20s, that's not necessarily what they're looking for. That structure there. What are they looking for, or what is the church doing to meet the needs of the post-COVID and younger generations?
Sure, a couple of main points that COVID had us address. Is that it's okay to try new stuff and fail, and then try something else. Previously, that was not always looked so well upon within the church. Every activity really needed to go well. That was kind of the vibe and the feel within churches pre-COVID. Not now. We can actually try some stuff. We can kind of bomb at it and figure out, well, we didn't quite do that right. We need to do something else. And there's a certain level of forgiveness there. But what COVID, how it changed us is in a couple of couple of meaningful ways, actually. First of all, every church had to become at least semi-proficient at online worship and streaming. From our smallest rural churches all the way to the big city churches. We had to become pretty proficient at being on screen, figuring out how to work that, how to make it something that people sitting in their living room would appreciate, because worship is a 3D experience. And you experience it live and in person. It envelops your senses. It gets you thinking and singing and moving. Online worship doesn't translate specifically to that because it's not 3D. It's more two-dimensional. And so you have to figure out ways to take flat images and bring them into people's homes. And so this made us rethink what's really important in worship, what's not. Do people really stand in their living room in their pajamas with their coffee cup, singing their favorite praise song and raising their hands? And the answer to that is a resounding no, they don't.
No.
Studies showed us that. So we had to kind of boil it down. Well, what's important, what works in an online venue, and funnel it down to that. Now, when we've come back into in-person worship, this creates an interesting dilemma. Do you continue to offer a strictly online worship service for those who want to worship at home, or do you just do a live stream and hope that they're going to hook on to your church, which is not going to happen, by the way. I'm just going to let you know that. Or do you find a way to blend intentional online friendly aspects into your worship setting, because your 3D, your in-person worshipers, it's okay to take a moment to put intentional stuff on the screen that's for your online audience that they get to view, and then you move to the next element of worship.
Okay.
So we do things like that. We incorporate short videos, bumper videos, and things like that. Recorded announcements, so that it pops off the screen. So the online folks feel very connected, but it shows on the screens in the sanctuary as well. So your in-person folks are connected as well. You have to have intentional pieces like that. So it made us become proficient with the way we do worship and how we do that in front of a camera. Everyone had to become at least semi-comfortable in front of a camera.
That's true, that's true. And I tell you, we've got half a minute left.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have asked this question a long time ago, but y'all have really made a lot of changes in that, as most churches have, and that's great.
And the next one thing, and I know we're pressed for time, is on-demand type stuff. Everyone's used to worshiping online, on demand, so that's going to make you rethink your in-person gatherings like small groups.
Right.
They're going to need to be more flexible instead of so rigid like the church schedules used to always be.
That's so true. That's wonderful. Well, y'all are meeting those challenges head on, as most churches are, and doing a great job. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are so glad you and your family are in Sylacauga. Hope you'll be here for a while.
We are so thankful to be here. Thank you for having us.
And thank you for joining us on Library Connection.